Hey guys, welcome back to the Pod of Greed, week 26.
Hey guys.
Yeah, we're here with a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh news, big Yu-Gi-Oh news, or pretty big, I would say.
Bigger than last week, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of stuff that just kind of developed, and I want your opinion on, like you, because we haven't gotten a chance to talk about it, and also you guys in the comments, because just very opinionated issues, I think, that have been like developing.
They're about to hate us.
Yeah. Or love us. It all depends. Some people think I hate Yu-Gi-Oh! If you can believe it.
Oh, you only like Master Duel, so.
Right. Yeah, that's the only Yu-Gi-Oh! I like. Yeah, glad we got that out of the way. Okay, so I think the first big order of business would probably be YCS Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, YCS Indy.
Yeah, from this past weekend. So this was actually the first event of what most would call the new format, at least in the sense that the first event was like Age of Overlord.
It's a new age, you might say.
A new age. Age of Overlord being legal. And it definitely ran the tables because the
Fire Hydrant is your overlord.
Yeah, the Rescue Ace sort of Sinful Spoils hybrid deck ended up not only winning the event, that was Steven Santoli. Congratulations to him. He got first place with Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace. And actually in the finals, it was a mirror match also against, so another like Sinful Spoils Ace deck. This is like the big new thing on the block.
Yeah, it comes as no surprise to people who follow the OCG. They've been talking about this deck. But you're never quite sure if like things in the OCG are going to translate over to the TCG.
Right.
It looks like it did this time.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting deck. I have not really researched a lot of it myself because, I am more of a Master Duel guy than a TCG guy.
He plays Rescue Ace Pure.
Yeah, I do. I've got stories about that. But yeah, I mean, I know that it's just the Sinful Spoils engine itself is like very control oriented, very much kind of a just resource loop style deck where it's just a lot of kind of repetitious,
very recursive,
just recursive disruption. And they also offer a way to search for your Fire Hydrant, and really like it just synergizes weirdly well with Rescue Ace. So I think that's kind of a cool hybrid. It's also at a time where Fire and like Pyro and stuff are getting more support.
Oh, they on the come up.
So that's kind of neat. Technically, the Pyro part's not as relevant for Rescue Ace, but just I don't know, because there's like the new Fire Xyz monster that like searches Pyros.
You mean it searches barrier statues?
Yeah, well, there's also like there's like the Monster Reborn thing that they got in Age of Overlord. They're getting a Rhoda sort of card in the next set, Phantom Nightmare. And then there's like the Fire King structure. It's just like it's a fiery period of time. I know you were doing something with the Diabell Star yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm trying. I want to build the Snake Eyes deck since it's kind of like the first lore archetype of this new story that's going on, and Diabell Star is the star of that show, so of course I need her and her Sinful Spoils, but that's going to cost me some bread.
Yeah, it's going to be a little expensive, isn't it? That's a big conversation we'll get into in a bit.
But Paul said he's going to spot me, so it's all good.
Yeah, I got you. That's right. But yeah, so congrats to him for winning. I think the event had like 1,900 some odd players. That was really cool. What was I gonna say? So I think that even though like it was cool to sort of see the new metagame developing. Mm-hmm. I think the highlight of the show was definitely Exodia this past weekend.
I disagree.
Okay. I
have no idea why people are so enamored with an FTK deck. We hate FTKs.
It's funny. So for those of you guys who didn't know, Jeffrey Leonard, he's the famed Mystic Mine and now Exodia FTK dad. He did pull off an Exodia FTK as a feature match, and I thought that was pretty cool. It is a little funny though. He's probably, I remember someone on Reddit called him the only like lovable player who plays like hateable decks or something like that.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was playing like sort of an Ignite Pendulum Exodia FTK deck.
The only way Ignites will ever see play.
Yeah, it's interesting really just for a number of reasons. So obviously it was a really huge moment. I went back and I rewatched on stream. People were... I'm so shocked that he won. Like, it's a miracle that he won for so many reasons. Because, like, first of all, he was playing against, like, TR Elements.
Who can definitely play on your turn.
Yeah, who can definitely, like, disrupt you, play on your turn. It's a very difficult deck. So the fact that he won the dice roll was, that's miraculous in and of itself.
But it's a 50-50.
Yeah, it's like a 50-50, but he won the dice roll and managed to win the first game. Second game was a pretty swift loss, right? Side decks kind of tend to be the reason why gimmicky decks just fall out later on in these tournaments. And then in game 3, his opponent actually was able to disrupt him, but then bricked on their turn. And that was so funny. So, he ended up winning with Exodia FTK, and I think that was awesome. I saw Exodia trending on Twitter, actually.
But I want to, drive this point home. Mm-hmm. If you're at a YCS, and it's the second or third round, maybe it's the fourth round, you're winning out, and you sit down across from an Exodia FTK player, and they FTK you twice, you're not going to be happy. Why are we saying, why is, Jeff why is he the exception?
He's got, it's a nice story.
No, it's not. So we got FTK.
Yeah, so I think the thing is that, his story, right?
Vaguely.
You wrote a short about it. You guys haven't seen it yet, but
I don't really know him.
His main thing is that, he played Yu-Gi-Oh! Mostly because his son played Yu-Gi-Oh! And so that in and of itself is sort of it's a nice feel-good story because he's probably the type of person who would not normally play Yu-Gi-Oh! And he plays kind of by simplifying the game, I guess.
So he's a good dad, so I should let him FTK me.
Yeah, I know. It is, there is some irony there. I think it's one of those things where it's only really nice because, it is that once-in-a-lifetime sort of thing. The moment that this happens, again, it's a problem, right?
Yes.
I think it's, FTKs are kind of allowed to happen, once. One good fun little FTK and a feature match. But, the moment that, if, at the next YCS, a bunch of regular people... And the type it's kind of the average Yu-Gi-Oh! Player type, where it was all playing this FTK and refining it and stuff. Yeah, I think we'd all be like you. Screw this. This sucks.
I just, I didn't compete long, but I did compete at one point, and I just getting OTK'd felt bad. So an FTK, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Alec is not on the hype train of it.
It's I understand people like him. It's just. FTK.
Yeah, it's funny. He played Mystic Mind before too.
You know how I feel about Mystic Mind.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel? Are you a Mystic Mind, or when it was legal, were you a Mystic Mind apologist?
I hated.
So
Mystic
you were anti-Mystic Mind.
I hated 110%. I couldn't stand the card.
Yeah, he also popularized. He didn't popularize the deck, but he was very popular for being the guy playing Mystic Mind. And I think it's people kind of cheered him on when he won, but they wouldn't do that for anyone else. So
it's such a unique story. I feel Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are just looking for stories to latch on to, something to keep them interested during these tournament runs, and how is this deck doing? There does need to be a narrative to these tournaments to keep people engaged. So
yeah, I think it's just because we're playing. You have to step back, in my opinion, and we're playing a game where this game can be miserable at times, right? People are.
You would think it would be during the FTK.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, but this game can be so miserable and also so tense and cutthroat and just sweaty and stuff. Where there's so many factors. It's refreshing to see a different strategy find some success. And as it happens, he ended up dropping out of the tournament, right? Right after that round, he lost his next 3. And so it's kind of pop the balloon. But at least there was a moment of excitement for players. And I think that is a good thing. I know that, for the person sitting across from him, it probably would be miserable, but his opponent actually was a really good sport about it.
That seems to be a trend with Leonard's opponents. They tend to lose with a smile.
I think you have to, right? If you don't, well, you look even worse. So Alec is clearly not a big Jeff Leonard, or at least not an Exodia FTK fan.
Yeah, I have nothing against the guy. I purely just don't like the cards. I'm a grubby Yu-Gi-Oh! Player who doesn't want to change his mind about things.
Yeah. So I guess by your sort of estimate, it doesn't really matter who's playing the deck. If the deck is annoying, the deck is annoying. I get it.
That's just my opinion, guys. You can kill me in the comments if you want. I'm not saying anyone else doesn't think that way. It's just how I think.
Yeah. So, congrats to him though for just kind of that really big moment. Like I said,
a win.
I saw it trend on Twitter, which I thought was like really cool because you don't really get to see that. I actually think now that I mention it, Konami's probably really happy that like happened. I mean, they knew who they were putting up for the feature match, but I think for it to play out in the way that it did, where like, he's playing against a known kind of like villain deck in TR Elements, and he miraculously pulled off the win, and people are chanting, and like you get just this very soft, fuzzy, warm feeling as someone got FTK'd. But
well, but that's kind of hilarious.
It's kind of funny. It's like
TR Elements was such an antagonistic deck, was such the villain of the format kind of deck that we were cheering on an FTK.
Yeah, there's some darkness. This is a totally like unrelated thing, but I watch competitive Smash, and in Super Smash Bros. Melee, that's one of the games I watch. I watch Ultimate too. There's this character called the Ice Climbers, and they have a thing called wobbling, where like it's an infinite sort of just chain grab that your opponent typically just can't escape after a point. Like once their percentage is like higher than some whatever, and it just literally it gets them in a grab and keeps them in a grab until they reach like 300% and automatically kills them. And so, like, if you were to do this like 4 times in a match, you would just get an easy win. So there's loads of controversy around it, right? Does it take anything? It takes no skill, right? Like, this person doesn't deserve to get these wins. It will oftentimes upset top players, like, because they faced an Ice Climbers player and got wobbled, this whole thing. Some places banned it. Right now, it's, like, banned. But, there's been times in the past when it hasn't. All these things. And it's funny because people despise wobbling, right? It's kind of the equivalent of, like, facing an FTK. But when they don't despise wobbling, the one time they don't, is when their local wobbler, the local kind of guy in your area who you hate for wobbling, is at like a larger tournament, like a regional, and there's like some invader at your like kind of regional tournament, and they have to face the local wobbling player. Everyone cheers for every single. It's that exact situation where people will, just completely, they hate Mystic Mine. But if a nice guy's playing it, his opponent has to sit and smile.
Like, you gotta do it for Johannesburg. Don't let him show up to our city. Wobble him.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much that scenario. But
So
hey.
Is Jeff Leonard like the guardian of Yu-Gi-Oh? Like
sure. He's the many things. I mean, I think that one thing that is nice about him that I remember I watched the interview is he was just like, yeah, I basically kind of force Yu-Gi-Oh to kind of be played in a way that I can more easily like process. Because he was saying like how his son plays combo decks, so that's why he played Mystic Mine. Because it's like, all right, no combo, right? Like this is full combo for me is activating Mystic Mine. I think that was like a quote. So,
as I get older, I feel like I have less and less of a tolerance for like reading Yu-Gi-Oh cards and like parsing through interactions and figuring out combos and how to stop them.
Right.
So in a weird way, I get it. Like
Alec came full circle.
Like, in a weird way, I get it. When I was playing competitively, I hated Mystic Mine. Yeah. But when I think about playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh today, a part of me is like, I wish I could just drop a mine. Just like, mine, all right. I don't have to read them anymore.
It certainly, it makes you think. Like, it makes you think. I mean, like, I am also, to be clear, I did not like Mystic Mine when I, was having to play against it. It's not a really fun card. And I also don't like FTK decks. I don't really tend to enjoy like weird gimmicks like
Sky Striker Mine.
Yeah. Like,
it just reminded me. Ugh.
But on the other hand, it's like, man, I get why the people who did like it liked it, if that makes sense. So,
do you think Mystic Mine could come back?
I mean, I think at this point, it shouldn't, because there's just so much public hatred. I think people would just, Konami kind of knows that to do so would be, you'd have a riot on your hands. I mean, people just would not be happy. And yeah, I mean, with an errata, sure. Add 500 life points every like end phase or something to it, every standby or whatever. And I think suddenly Mystic Mine is a much more fair card.
Would it be 500 or you can destroy it, or it'd be a mandatory 500?
I think mandatory 500. Ooh. Mandatory 500 where if you cannot like out it yourself, it will kill you. So there is suddenly a lot more risk. You can play this Mystic Mine now because it has a destruction effect already where like if you have more monsters than the opponent or whatever. Yeah, but like I think that you should not be able, it should be like a mandatory like payment thing or whatever. So it'd be an interesting thought though. What do you guys think about that actually? Mystic Mine coming back
to 3
with that errata. Would that be like,
would that make it acceptable? Would that allow Alec to play Yu-Gi-Oh again?
I still think it would actually be like unpleasant to face, but
man,
you know.
Look, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there right now. If Mystic Mine ever comes back in whatever form, I will play it. I'm tired of reading your cards.
So yeah, there's that. Okay.
Do I have to read my opponent's cards if I play Exodia FTK?
Probably not many of them, but you might have to know like what disruptions they have. So.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. So what else was I gonna say? So that's basically YCS Indianapolis.
Yeah. What were any other decks made? I know what Pirelli were up there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Pirelli was I think in like 3rd. Oh yeah, Triff. So Triff got 4th place. He was playing a Manadium deck. So that was pretty cool. Pendulum God guy.
Oh, Triff. Okay, got it. Triff.
Yeah.
Triff.
Yeah, he got 4th place with Manadium, so that was pretty cool.
I like Manadium because Riem Heart looks cool.
Yeah, so he was playing a pretty. I did not actually like really see too much about like the deck he was using, but I know that he did get 4th, and that's a pretty big deal. Anytime like a kind of content creator manages to really eke out some wins here. I know like Sam's gotten some like a top or something at like some YCS. That was pretty cool.
I'm sure he has.
I know MBT is currently trying to get one at one of these YCS events as well. So good luck to him. Hopefully he can.
So Paul, you gotta throw your hat in there.
What am I gonna get one?
Go get one.
Never.
Just go.
Maybe I'll get one in Master Duel.
Oh my gosh, YCSs don't happen for Master Duel, dude.
Yeah, I mean
they have
they have like
thing.
the Duelist Cup.
Or Duelist Cup thing. I mean,
I've been playing that. That's been fun. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for YCS Indianapolis. Now I guess the next sort of relevant thing is that Age of Overlord has been causing a bit of a conversation around card prices. How's your experience with the set been so far? Like,
set's
you've been
fine.
buying it, right?
100%. I love this set. I find this set to be fun to open. There's just so many impactful cards that you could want for your collection or to build around.
Mm-hmm.
Quarter century pull rates are low, so or they're higher than like Starlights, and I've already pulled 2, so that's really swayed my opinion on the set.
Yeah, that probably helps. Yeah, well, I think it's also a very good set. I think it's a pretty exciting set. The first one in 5-6 months. The first.
I still call
really
it the first
big.
good set of the year. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, some would say that. I mean, I think that it certainly has some competition. Like Cyberstorm Axis was definitely a really good one, and Photon Hypernova was also decent. But with Duelist Nexus being as underwhelming as it was for so many people,
yeah,
I think that Age of Overlord was a nice. I don't know. It's a nice sort of like just a very exciting one.
There are weird cards in that set that I just want to play around with, and
weird cards.
Yeah, like I didn't even know these were coming out, but they have these new Shark cards from Shark from
Zexal.
Mm-hmm. I didn't watch Zexal. I only know Shark from like Duel Links, but for some reason I care.
You're just invested somehow.
And so they made these new like Armor Xyz, and he had these like Armor Xyz monsters, and they even have a final form which is like an upgraded version of Silent Honor Dark, which I didn't know I wanted or needed, but now suddenly, I have to build a deck around it.
Yeah, I it's kind of funny. I found myself similarly invested in like the Galaxy Eyes.
There's a Galaxy Eyes in there?
Not in this set, but like just in general. And like I didn't watch really enough. I didn't even watch Zexal up to when Kite Tenjo shows up. And yet I called myself like, yeah, I really like this Galaxy Eyes thing. And I like this character. And I'm like, I don't know, like, why am I saying I like this character when like
that's me and Shark.
Yeah.
I only saw him as like the jerk at school. I never saw his actual character arc.
Yeah, I think he becomes kind of the Joey of sorts. Sidekick, although like I think sort of main character in his own right. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot of neat stuff in the set for me. I have 1 copy of the new Vanquish Soul monster that I need. I gotta get 2 more of that, and I got the new Labyrinth monster as well. I think I need to get like 1 more copy, and I can update both of my decks. But the maybe more pressing part about Age of Overlord has been the price. Because this is the first set in a while where we have gotten a like $100 card in SP Little Knight.
Oh,
so yeah,
didn't pull any yet.
Yeah, made a big splash at YCS Indianapolis. It's kind of power crept Nightmare Unicorn. It's something that you can go into with IP Masquerena, or really just go into, but by other means. There's like other ways to make it, and it kind of functions as like a multi-disruption card. It's very good all around. Typically you only need one copy at least in your extra deck, but some people are electing to run two. And while the card like started off at like $60-$70, it quickly got up to like 80, and like as of time of recording this, like Wednesday night, it's like 105. So we're kind of at that point again with Yu-Gi-Oh! Where there's another $100 like staple.
But it's not a 3-of staple.
It's not a 3-of staple, but that's where Wanted comes in.
Wanted what?
Wanted Hunter of Sinful Spoils.
I always forget that's the name of it.
Yeah, that's their search spell. It's a quick play spell, which is insane. And like right now it's at, $50-$60, depending on where you look. And if you want to run the Diabellstar engine, then you need to have 3 copies of it in most cases.
And if you want to run Snake Eyes.
Yeah, like so you want to play Diabellstar as an engine or the Snake Eyes deck or just whatever, you've got to have this card. And yeah, so a place out of that, it's gonna run you a bit, 150, 180 depending. And also just Diabellstar herself, she's like $25. The Horus Secrets,
I pulled one of those,
like $30-$35. And it's a bit of a weird conundrum, actually. I had made a video about this before, but
I gave it watch time, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I made a video about this before, where it was 3 months ago, we were kind of begging for this sort of set, like a set that's got
value,
like where you open it and you can pull secrets and stuff that are like worth a lot of money, and you can like sell them, make your money back, and like be happy. But also there have been some complaints because a lot of these cards are like the popular new thing and people want them, and spending $100 for an SP Little Knight is not fun for, the average Yu-Gi-Oh player. And same goes for a lot of engines and other things. And so there's just been a bit of a back and forth around like, is it a good thing that like we finally have a valuable set, or is it maybe a bad thing because great, like Yu-Gi-Oh is expensive again and budget players are priced out again.
Like, I feel like that's a kind of unfair kind of a scenario and question you paint here, because the answer should be different for like different people and different types of people.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because I mean, well, I guess the number one thing I always wonder is like, what's the point of like being upset about the price of something? Just don't.
Oh, so you're just don't what? Like you mean like just don't?
Just don't buy it. If you don't like the price, then.
Yeah, so here's the thing about that. But I want to play it.
EDO Pro exists.
But I want to be able to play it at my local tournament, Alec.
Why would you spend $100+ to play something at locals?
Well, no, so you're misunderstanding though. I don't want to have to spend $100+, but I do want to play it. At least that's the perspective of the people who
borrow
just like. Yeah, so it's a tricky one. And I'm going to say, I'm not sure where I land on the whole thing yet, because I do think that it sucks when cards are expensive. That's just the truth of it. I think once upon a time, I would have just strongly agreed with you, right? Just if you don't want to do, like if you can't afford it, just don't buy it and it'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
But now that I've played stuff like Pokemon a little bit, I'm realizing Yu-Gi-Oh could also just afford to do better. Like, why is it that, I can buy Pokemon 151 and be like, oh, I want to build like, a Blastoise EX deck. That's one of the decks I wanted to play. And I can just get the low rarity versions of all the cards in the same set. And so even though there's like a more valuable copy of like Blastoise EX and some of these other cards, I can always just play the cheaper ones. And I think that maybe Yu-Gi-Oh should experiment with something like that.
Is that meta though?
Well, some of the cards, actually in the Pokemon meta, that is the case.
Oh.
Like meta cards are still cheap because you can just get cheap versions of them. Like you can get like the common or the uncommon version. So with that in mind, I think that it does suck that like SP Little Knight hasn't just been printed as like a super. And then also it could be a quarter century for a person who wants to like bling out. And that's where I think like the kind of argument stems from, is that like everybody wants a chance to play with the exciting cards.
But how can Konami do that with the way boxes are like?
They should be different,
organized.
is what people are saying. Like, it should be different.
So completely change the rarity system and like distribution?
Yes, that's what I think people want.
Ooh.
I mean, what do you think though? Like, it sounds like you think that if it's expensive, then just people should like, maybe not.
Yeah, my first instinct is that you either are in the market for something or you're not. Mm-hmm. The market is defined by if you're willing and able to buy a product. Just because you are willing to buy an SP Little Knight, or at least you're willing to play one, but if you're not able to, then you're just not in the market for it. I mean, isn't that just kind of like jealousy?
What do you mean?
It's like you want to be able to play one, but it's expensive, and that kind of that makes you angry. Isn't that similar to seeing someone with a nice car, and well, you want to drive a nice car too, but you can't afford that, so you just get angry about it?
Yeah, I think the difference here is that these is all like secondary market stuff. So it would be a little different if Konami could say that like, okay, this card's $100. So like there would definitely be like, okay, I'm just priced out. I just cannot afford what this thing costs. But the thing is, the $100 was sort of decided by this nameless, faceless, just entity of a community.
The market.
And that's why I think people are so upset about it.
So it sounds like people are upset at the community. Mm-hmm. So we're mad at ourselves.
Yeah, I guess so.
That is rare. We're usually so mad at Konami. Like, Konami did this.
People are mad at Konami because it's like printed as a secret rare. I think people do want the card to be printed at a lower rarity. And so, like, in that way, they're upset with Konami, and they're just, I guess, upset with the community for just kind of allowing it to be the price that it is.
So we don't actually have to change the organization of packs. Mm-hmm. This could be fixed if SP Little Knight was just printed as a super. Just something else is a secret now. But SP is a super, which makes it cheap and easier to get. Okay, I'm wrapping my head around it now. Okay.
You're wrapping your head around. You make it sound like it's like I mean, it's not a complicated issue, I think. Like, I think that this is actually one where that would be the very simple and easy solution, and the one that is the most possible. Like, of all the, because like there's a lot of things people want out of Yu-Gi-Oh! That I think are like difficult, right? Mm-hmm. This is one where I actually don't think it's difficult. Because in the OCG, cards like SP Little Knight oftentimes are actually super rares. And in the TCG, Konami elects to make them secret rares because they know that these will be chase cards, and so they can get more sales. I'm not sure how Konami's sales would be affected if something like SP Little Knight was a super rare. So from Konami's perspective, I see why they would want you to like have to chase an SP Little Knight.
You know what's kind of funny about that? I actually think Konami's sales would be fine if Little Knight was a super.
I think so too. I'm inclined to think so.
I think a lot of people would buy. I think people would buy more product if Little Knight was a super because they'd want to stockpile them and have like a large amount before and then be able to like sell them when it becomes scarce and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would actually be fine if Konami did that too, just because. Like, it would mean that, so when it's a secret rare, you were saying, okay, there are people who just simply can't afford it. Yeah. And so they, you suggested, well, if you can't afford it, then just don't get it. As it happens, that's exactly what they do, is they just don't have one. But they also don't buy any Age of Overlord either. And so now it actually kind of becomes a bit of a lose-lose because it's like, well, people want to play SP Little Knight. They can't afford SP Little Knight. They can't afford to buy like 1 million boxes and search for it.
That's
so
true.
They just don't have one. It's one of those like, it's the harsh reality things, but that's
it doesn't
still
have to be the reality.
It doesn't have to be the reality. Okay. In my opinion, like SP Little Knight being secret means that there are a set of competitive players who will definitely they're going to get it, right? They have to have it to compete, so money was never like a question for them. If it's $200, they'll get them still. But also, like for the average budget player, they'll just have to kind of wait for the reprint. And it's okay to wait for the reprint, but like you want to play the exciting cards. And if the exciting cards were more accessible, you'd be willing to buy, I would think, buy the product that they're in.
So now my question becomes, what should, since the TCG decides its rarities based off of like impactful cards that will move product, what should secret rares be in this world where we move like meta relevant impactful cards down a tier so that they're more easily pulled? Then what do we make secrets? Because I don't actually
there's two options, and they could actually even coexist. The first is actually that you make the anime cards be like the secret rares. Anime cards in this case being things like those Zark cards that are in the set.
So you're gonna make my life more difficult.
Or the powered, what are the powered Xyz monsters? Here's the thing though, it might not make your life difficult because those cards still meta-wise aren't seen as like super relevant. I need this for YCS Indy or YCS, whatever the next one is.
Oh, so their prices wouldn't be as high.
Their prices might just be like at most $15 or $20 or something.
Oh, that's still
like
$100. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna pay that much.
So, it would mean that anime cards and like cool new boss monster that like some character in Vrains or something used can be like a secret rare, but it's like the value is kind of more for the collector. It's like it's a pretty thing and it's a cool thing to pull, but if you're playing competitively, you can still get your SP Little Knight or whatever, or equivalent staple. This could have applied to Triple Tactics Thrust back in like Photon Hypernova or Access Code Talker, right? And I think that would have been that would be a pretty decent option. And then the other option is just that SP Little Knight is a super and it's a secret. So
has that ever happened?
Not like really anytime recently. Like obviously in older sets, we were used to like, Rare Hunters, Slifer Slackers when they started doing like rares and also ultis, which I think was a genius idea. Like,
except they gave ulti treatment to some random rares.
Yeah, there were some random ultis, but I'll tell you though, there were some really nice ones too. Lightning Vortex, Divine Wrath, like Miracle Fusion. And so it's kind of crazy to think that if Divine Wrath, right, like at the time, super strong counter trap, if that was released today or like its equivalent today, it would just be a secret, and it'd be like maybe $80 or $100, and you'd have to have it, and it would suck, and there just wouldn't be another way. It's crazy they were so much kinder back then, and just would give you a rare copy of like a Divine Wrath.
Pot of Greed.
Pot of Greed actually was like printed really. Like, it was like a rare.
So you guys saw Rare Hunters, and if you haven't, check it out. We each got 2.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel that it's that sort of situation. I don't know why they don't just kind of do a double printing, print it as a super, and so like average Joe can get it for $5 or something, and then print it as a secret where if you want to kind of flex, you can buy your like $40 secret rare copy, but the average person doesn't have to have it. And I think that would be a really nice solution.
That's actually interesting. So I came into this with one like opinion, but I feel my opinion changing because if Konami, like the United States, the Western Konami, can change the rarities of cards from the OCG to TCG to what we have now, then they should just be able to change them however.
Yeah. Now I guess the downside is we're two people on a podcast, and there's a lot of people on Twitter who are like arguing about all this stuff too, and none of us really know like what goes on at Konami, right? Like what exactly goes into the decisions to change these rarities. Is it as easy as we think it is to do?
It's just like drag into a different folder.
Yeah, it's just like dragging into a different folder and that's it. Like I'm sure they've got their reasons and maybe they kind of have done the math and feel that it won't sell better. Like maybe they have evidence to suggest that that's the case. I don't know. An interesting thing is that we're about to be getting the Rarity Collection here in just like a couple weeks. And that is a set where all the cards in the set are available in like 7 different rarities. Now it's a bit of a more extreme sort of sample like to test, but it will be interesting to see like how will the prices break down for things, what are the pull rates going to look like, how will people respond to that.
Do we know what's in Rarity Collection?
So surprisingly no, we haven't gotten content creator reveals unless they literally like drop the morning that we're dropping this podcast, but yeah, we haven't gotten content creator reveals. There's not really been much more info on it, so it might just be one of those like it's a surprise, or we find out like the week of or something.
It's got Age of Overlord reprints in it already.
That'd be nice.
I feel bad people buying SP if that happened, but no, that won't happen.
The alternative side of the argument from the maybe more competitive crowd, or just the I can afford it crowd is something closer to maybe what you said, which is just that, well, if you want to compete, buy it and like suck it up. And if you can't afford it, then it's not for you. And while I don't like that stance, I'm going to give it some credence here and try to be fair. I get what they're saying because sometimes Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be that game, right? If you are like, you're in the nitty gritty of it and you want to top these regionals, it doesn't matter like whether you like the price or not. If you want to play, you got to get the cards. And, there are maybe some workarounds. You can borrow them if you've got friends who will let you. But if it's a new thing, like SP,
it's going to be
there's probably
limited
not
supply.
Yeah, there's probably not too many to be borrowing. So,
but I mean, I really think if staying within actual reality where we are now, I think we have to play it by market rules, right?
Yeah.
If we don't like the price of SP Little Knight, we have to just not buy it. Yeah. I know it's impossible to get like everyone in on this like one idea.
But if that was the case.
But like if you are a person who doesn't like the price of Little Knight and you look at the Horus package, you didn't like the price of that secret either. And you feel very strongly about the secondary market and the prices of these cards, just
don't buy them.
Take a stand and don't buy them. I know it hurts.
So the thing is, though, here's why that kind of doesn't work, I guess. Because the people who dislike the price already aren't buying it. They're just not buying it and also complaining. But the thing is, the people who are buying it are the ones who didn't really care how much it cost. They were going to buy it. Like, they didn't care if it was 60, they were going to buy it. If it was 80, they were going to buy it. There are people who will buy it at 100 because the regional is tomorrow and, like, I got to get it. I think in that way, it just comes down to if this is something that Konami is all right with, which I guess the trends have shown that they are. Like, Konami does not mind that there is a secondary market for Yu-Gi-Oh! That can be extremely prohibitive.
We're staying within reality. I mean, if somebody's willing to buy a Porsche for, like, $250,000, and even though I think they shouldn't, so that I can afford one at $20,000.
Yeah.
Like,
tough stuff.
Yeah, that's just how it is. So unless the overlords ever see different.
I mean, hopefully, like, Konami maybe just, I think that they should change it. I'm more for, I'm team accessibility, honestly. I've been team accessibility for a very long time.
I've been accessibility my whole life. I'm an ally to all your fights and plights.
Yeah, I mean, I've always sort of said, like, more cards in the hands of more people is only really a good thing. Like, in the game that we enjoy, I think more people should just be able to play the things they want to play. I don't think that making it prohibitive and restrictive is a net benefit for anybody, but, like, I guess Konami trying to get more sales.
I guess the prices of boxes have probably gone up, huh?
I think they're still about 60, 65, $70. I think they're kind of normal box prices. We'll see if that changes as Desperacy changes.
Yeah, I feel like if there's $100 secret, I say buy a box and go for it. See if you make that profit.
That's what Konami would want you to do. Buy your boxes and spin the gotcha. Anyways, that's the kind of debate. Where do you guys land on it? I would love to hear.
How many Little Knights did you buy?
Yeah, are you are you team like tough luck, Yu-Gi-Oh's expensive, deal with it, or are you team it should be accessible and like, I should be able to play my Little Knights for $1? I don't know. So, you know where we stand. It's
well, we're sitting.
Yeah, we know where we sit on this issue. I think people should be able to get the cards. Okay, let's see. So, other Yu-Gi-Oh things. I guess the final episode of Deck Flexing is going to be coming out. It's going to be tomorrow.
C-Rex and Rhyme Style.
C-Rex and Rhyme Style are going to be in this one. That's going to be cool.
Can we talk about it or no?
It's not out yet, so I guess we won't spoil it too much.
We won't say anything.
But that's going to be dropping tomorrow, I guess, on Konami's channel, so check it out.
We can talk about episode 2.
Yeah, if you watched episode 2, yeah, we can finally kind of share a little bit of insight into that. So, I did, all right, I saw some people, they left comments about it.
How?
It came out last week.
Yeah, but the comments are disabled.
Like on Twitter and stuff.
Oh.
Although I really do think Konami should enable comments on the videos, but that's a different story.
Just turn them on. Turn them on accident.
Yeah, but I think people did not like maybe some of the edits on like episode 2 in particular, just because I think they were a little bit more jumpy. And to give you maybe some insight into why that was, well, first watch the episode before you hear this. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, pause this.
Yeah, so pause
go
this,
watch
the episode. Okay, now that you have done that, it was Neos versus, or like Heroes, kind of Neos, Heroes versus Stardust. And so Rosemi had to use Stardust Dragon, and Doppio had to use
Doppio
Drop Scythe. That's why, yeah, Doppio Drop Scythe had to use Heroes. It was a bit of a rough time.
It was very, very rough.
Yeah, you go ahead. You're probably better equipped to.
So it was. It wasn't like it was only a few days before filming that we actually found out the decks and the deck lists that they were going to use. And we had a very limited amount of time to, me, since I was going to show Rosemi how to play Stardust.
Yeah.
I had to figure out how to play Stardust.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, so basically, I know like people were saying, the coaching system and kind of the thing that we did, it's all very like kind of short notice. Like we really only got to coach them with these decks with like actually 10, 15 minutes. And that works fine for,
classic decks.
For like the classic decks thing, right, with Jay Wong and Vicious. But teaching somebody how to like play, the modern kind of Stardust deck with like a bazillion tuners and a bunch of different, like Martial Metal March and all these things, and learn these combos like within like 5-10 minutes can be pretty difficult.
It's pretty much an effort in futility.
Yeah, and so I think that they kind of got creative with their editing and maybe managed to make it watchable anyway, but yeah.
Can we talk about behind the scenes or no?
I mean, I'll just say that it was a bit much. And
there were certainly struggles.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to say that I think that's a good segue into our own theme duel that we've been working on that will probably be going up the day that you will listen to this podcast, Thursday. It's a Stardust Dragon versus Red Dragon Archfiend theme duel that we've been working on. And much like with that episode of Deck Flexing, we have found that modern Yu-Gi-Oh support for old school anime decks and stuff like that really does not play nice for like doing a back and forth anime theme duel.
Red Eyes does, because Red Eyes doesn't even do what it wants to do.
I mean, actually, no. You have to exclude Dragoon, remember?
Oh, yeah. If you don't use Dragoon.
But the thing is, so we've been kind of trying to make this Stardust Dragon versus Red Dragon Archfiend thing where the two of them go back and forth, and, it's like a whole thing. But the issue is that if you know anything about like how the modern Stardust boss monsters work, they negate everything. They're huge and they negate everything.
And if you know anything about modern red dragon boss monsters, they destroy everything.
They're huge, they nuke boards, and they swing. And so it really can be difficult to make a duel sort of seem narratively back and forth.
Paul's being coy. It's impossible. It's actually not possible to make these things go back and forth in a fair anime-like way. It's just not possible.
I spent days and days and days writing this this feature match because we sort of scripted the whole thing. Spoiler. I mean, you can tell when you watch the video. We scripted it to kind of make it more back and forth and stuff, but there's so much just suspension of disbelief that you have to kind of carry into it where it's like, why didn't they negate that? Well, because we had to let the other person get some stuff in the field. And that's like excluding the fact that the combos are really, really long and,
It took me days to like get Stardust combos down, and it was only like 2.
Yeah, shout out to 037 Wolf. By the way, he helped us with the Stardust Dragon combos because we're noobs.
We needed the help.
But yeah, so it's just, I guess, just thinking about the deck flexing thing made me realize just right, like Yu-Gi-Oh anime decks and like anime duels and stuff it's tough to kind of make them just good for the screen, good for entertainment. Because the way that, what I realized in working on that duel is the way that Stardust Dragon and the way that Red Dragon Archfiend are meant to be played is against other stuff, mercilessly. So you're supposed to be able to channel your inner Yusei or Jack by comboing for 10 minutes, making, 2 or 3 huge cosmic quasar blazars and just negating everything, and like your opponent scoops, and then you're happy. I'm Yusei.
I won.
But, rev it up. But really, like, as far as back and forth dueling goes, yeah, they're not really there for that. So, but do watch the last episode of Deck Flexing. I think that as far as, the time put in by all the different parties, all the different guests, and just everybody, the editing team, they did a really great job. It's really good stuff. I think this last episode that's going to come out tomorrow is going to be really exciting. I think you guys will like it.
I already miss it.
Yeah, it's Syriax and Rhyme style, so it's going to be good times, those two. Think that's all of the major Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, right?
Nothing for Master Duel?
Oh, yeah, okay. So Master Duel, nothing like big has changed, but you can get my kind of little Master Duel update. It's Paul's Master Duel Corner. I've been playing Rescue Ace on Master Duel. I started playing it last week, and I think I might have mentioned it on the pod last week, but I have really fallen in love with this deck.
I always hear you. You're always like, ooh, ooh.
I've had a very fun time playing this deck. It's just my style of deck. It's kind of mid-range control, recursion loop, and it's very interactive. I've really pulled myself out of some tight corners against many different decks. Pirelli, Labyrinth, weird gimmick things, and of course, the kind of elephant in the room right now, Kashtira, which I actually have to admit has become one of my favorite matchups to play against, and also like one of my more like comfortable ones. And that's so bizarre, because if you ask anyone right now, Master Duel, and like about Master Duel, Kashtira is just the menace. Everyone hates playing against it. The deck is obscenely strong, and it's really just too good to be allowed, personally. I've got my ideas of how I think they should hit it, but I'll probably talk about that maybe next week more. But I actually don't find the deck to be like that hard for me to face or even to beat. I've got a good record against Kashtira. If anything, I've had more trouble with like kind of the weird, more like unique gimmicky stuff, the Makonko decks and
so how should like Master Duel hit Rescue Ace, because it's so busted?
Oh no, they're not hitting that. They're actually okay. That reminds me of another thing. Rescue Ace are getting there's a new Fire Link monster. It's going to be released in Master Duel in a few days.
The Fire Princess.
Yeah, it's like this Fire Princess, and it's so weird because it got announced in the OCG a few days ago, and it's a card that's going to be in Phantom Nightmare.
Yep.
It's like a regular card in Phantom Nightmare, but it's just being added to Master Duel like in a few days. Very random. Like Phantom Nightmare won't even be out for us in the TCG until like next January, February, something like that. Which means that all the other cards in Phantom Nightmare aren't going to be added to Master Duel literally until like, who knows, when, like next June. So, it's weird that one card is just randomly.
It is strange. Like, why one card out of everything in like Phantom Nightmare? Why that one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why not a whole archetype?
I don't know if it's like something to do, like maybe Shueisha they pushed it through. We like this one card, and we're gonna make sure
she's got fire hands.
Yeah, so it's actually one of the things that I can use in Rescue Ace. So I'm kind of excited about that. But
yeah, what does she do? I know she locks you into fire monsters, and she special summons one from deck.
She can like get one from grave, something like that. And like some other effect. I mean, it's just a good little utility Link 3, something that's useful to make with you like summon Hita, the Fire Charmer Link monster, and like summon their Ash Blossom, and then you can like make this and then get back like a Rescue Ace or your other fire card. So that'll be kind of interesting. I just thought that was weird that Master Duel's randomly adding it in. So
I'll run in Snake Eyes. They're all fire.
Yeah, so
but I guess I won't be able to play it until
it comes out. Yeah, like next year. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Master Duel. I've just been enjoying Rescue Ace. For those of you guys who are struggling with Kashtira, I can say I'm in Master 3 rank right now. And if I had to offer tips, because somebody asked me for tips. So my first big tip against Kashtira would be learn how your deck can deal with Fenrir, and learn how your deck can deal with a Rise Heart, and like kind of focus on playing around those carefully. That's pretty much it. That's going to vary so much from deck to deck. So
it's like so identify the two Kashtira cards,
the two most relevant ones,
and then play around them.
And just make sure that you don't like play into silly things. Don't play into Kashtira Birth like with a spell and get your graveyard banished. Be smart about your infinite impermanence, stuff like that. Those are some really useful cards. There was something else I was gonna say, but
no, you gotta save the rest of the goo.
Yeah, I mean that's a gist. I don't think Kashtira is like impossible to beat, but I think it is very obscenely strong, and I do hope that they hit it sooner rather than later, because I think it probably makes the average person's Master Duel experience.
It has to be there for next World, so
yeah. I think it makes the average person's Master Duel experience a little bit soured. So I would hope that it goes away. And don't get me wrong, I even though I find that it's a comfortable matchup for me, I still don't think it's a fair deck at all. So it's rough. Okay, I think that's actually all the Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Yeah, I have nothing. I got nothing.
Cool. Well, I've got stories. You got stories?
I might have a little something. Just
okay. What stories you got?
This thing's dying. Here we go. So MTG, Magic the Gathering, have announced another collaboration.
Yeah, they've been announcing them. What do they got?
So this time it is Marvel Comics.
Yeah, this was big. So what I was curious about, because I saw the headline, everyone was kind of talking about it. How much have they said? Like what?
So I'll read the press release. Titans of entertainment found in stores worldwide, Magic the Gathering, one of the world's most popular trading card games, and Marvel, one of the world's most prominent character-based entertainment companies, are collaborating to share fan-favorite superheroes, villains, and more through amazing tabletop gameplay. This Universes Beyond collaboration is coming soon. That's it.
Oh, that's all we got?
Yeah,
there's like an image?
There's a video of in the kid, there's like on the thumbnail, there's a kid holding a Captain America shield that you can see anywhere. Okay. And in the video, there's a kid reading a comic book. But what I can say is this. I watched the video, right? Mm-hmm. And you know what I didn't see? Mm-hmm. The MCU.
Yeah, so this is like Marvel Comics, not MCU.
Yeah, this feels much in how the Lord of the Rings collab was literally the books from the Lord of the Rings series. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is going to be the Marvel comic books. So nothing with Disney's MCU that won't be a part of it.
I am with that. I think that's probably for the best. Because as we discussed last week about the MCU, it's a bit of a mess, honestly, right now. And I don't think that it's really, it needs guests at its house right now. You could say.
Well, Magic wants guests in its house.
So I think like with Magic, it probably makes more sense to get the comic books. The comic books, I would say, feel for a lot of people more. And as a Marvel comic reader, you can probably maybe attest to this. The comics feel a little bit more like, I don't know if sacred is the word, but it's more like legitimate. Like, just because they're kind of the source material.
Right.
And
if
MCU
you did
is kind of
MCU
these different interpretations.
Stuff, it would be, like, it's always weird, right? Mm-hmm. Movie collaborations. Like we get these movie, like, cinema-based, like, video games. Yeah. Or we'll get these like movie merchandise and stuff. It always feels a little illegitimate.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say I think that like the MCU in particular feels like it's actually kind of fluid these days, where like you probably saw that one Kevin Feige interview we were talking about the other day where he was like, what is it, the Inhumans or whatever.
That's when he was defining what was a part of the MCU's
what's in like the sacred timeline
and what wasn't.
And he's like, yeah, Inhumans isn't, for instance.
That's because they royally messed up.
But it's also kind of like that. That's kind of being said, I guess, like retroactively. Like I suppose internally, maybe that's always been the case. But if you were a fan of it and you're just finding out now that it isn't part of the sacred timeline through some like secondhand interview in 2023, like it's just. It feels like, and then like there's like the Daredevil
anyone
thing.
Who's watched all of the Inhumans show, they figure by the time that show is over, you already knew it was like
yeah. And I mean like, but then there's also like the Daredevil thing where like, oh, we kind of started writing it, but we kind of scrapped it, so we're gonna figure out something else. And then I know that they'd said like Shield, right? What is Agents of Shield? That's something I don't really know anything about. Yeah, I remember they were saying recently it came out like, oh yeah, that's not like MCU.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone familiar with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., while it was a part of like the MCU originally, by the time it was over, we kind of knew.
They wrote it out. But see, and so that's the thing is like if it feels like they're not always like sure what kind of is and isn't really like canon in the MCU, and they'll sort of later append it or something and be like, oh well, like it happened, but like it's different. And so I think it's probably safer, getting back to the topic of like the Magic collaboration, to just use the comic books. They're just more legit.
Even though they're even more like ephemeral as far as what's canon and what's not.
My guess is that they would just go with like originals, maybe, or do you think like, is that not even like a possible thing? Like,
I mean, so Marvel Comics, like the MCU, is a nightmare. There are many different timelines. There are different timelines. There are different worlds, and there are different times.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense. So you can have like an Earth 616, and you can have an Earth like 612. They are considered two different timelines. Each can have its own past, present, and future. So on Earth 616, you can have Spider-Man meet his future self, older Spider-Man, but that could be the old Spider-Man of Earth 616. He could also meet his older self from another world, like 621, who is an older Spider-Man, but not technically from his timeline.
So basically, just watching like Through the Spider-Verse. That's what the movie was.
I mean, that's
basically.
Essentially the idea there.
No, yeah, I think they'll just take the just most popular heroes, I guess. Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man. I think
it's very safe. So, we've seen a few of these universes beyond collabs now. We've seen Lord of the Rings. We've seen Doctor Who. Jurassic Park's happening now. So we know Marvel. We know how Magic operates. They have their colors: red, blue, white, black, green. And now you just have to find characters or themes that line up with these colors, and then you can mix and match them to create strategies and all that nonsense. So, what's easy? Red. You can just pick red characters.
Yeah.
So maybe I want my red to be Iron Man themed. Maybe my red can be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Blue. Blue can be Captain America. Blue can be...
Yeah, I think they'll play it safe. That was what kind of I was thinking. Is just that it'll be the really recognizable characters, nothing that's like super niche or kind of implies any...
I think they'll get into the nicheness because like they call it a universes beyond kind of set. So I'm assuming it's going to be on the same scale as the Lord of the Rings collaboration. Mm-hmm. And the Lord of the Rings set actually went into so many different characters. It was not just main characters in that set. And so I imagine we'll get into some of the more unique characters. We might see characters like Beetle or characters like, Shocker's not niche, but he definitely feels niche. Like you might see these more niche characters kind of just pop up on one-off cards. Cause you have to fill out an entire like booster set and then some. Because Marvel has to make a collector's booster, a booster, 3 or 4 commander decks.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of cards.
Honestly, I don't know how they're going to limit it to just that number of cards. Because Marvel's been around for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, there's also probably stuff that's off limits. Like Marvel is like, yeah, you just can't use these characters and stuff. So they'll probably be pretty like strict on who they want in and like out and who's like allowed and stuff.
I mean, I think Marvel's pretty open. I think there are a few things you can't, you don't want to remind people about. I think Hank Pym, you just don't bring back.
I don't know who that is.
Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man.
Oh, okay.
He's got a very problematic history in the comics, and I feel like
yeah. I mean, they'll.
I feel like
Marvel's gonna keep it squeaky clean.
Push that.
Yeah, they'll keep it squeaky clean.
Like, but I wonder about like villains and there's so many characters.
My bigger question is, I wonder if they're gonna like reinterpret it artistically, like they did with Lord of the Rings. Like, Black Aragorn. Like, will we be having black,
Oh, so
Iron
you think
Man
they might do? Don't do that. I see what you're doing. You stop that right now.
I'm not trying to, like, I'm not joking about this, like, because they did that with Lord of the Rings. Like, they reimagined Aragorn. So I mean, do you think that that's something that I feel like Marvel is going to be like, nah, we're not letting y'all do that.
I think it'll be fine. The comics, are kind of the comics aren't like the MCU. Almost anything can happen in those comics. These characters have had so many iterations and changes and costume changes.
Well, what I mean though is, what would you say? Like, well, sorry, go ahead.
Like, I think if Magic the Gathering wanted to have their artists create a new look for the characters, but it's still very much based on like the character, like who they are. So we're not gonna reimagine Spider-Man as Man Spider, but his suit's different. Like it's still a Spider-Man suit, but it has like some like magic flair to it. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe
I could see that.
I just think that they would prefer like, because if you think about like the controversy around Black Aragorn, they might want to avoid that, and like Marvel seems like they're just, I guess I might be thinking too much MCU wise, but like I feel like they're just hyper defensive about like portrayal of characters.
I mean, and definitely within the MCU. I think with the comics, they could stand to be a little bit more defensive about how they portray those characters in comics. But really, they don't need to do any new designs for Magic the Gathering because these characters have had so many different looks and reimaginings. You can just throw them in. That's what I meant
is like they would not let the artists reimagine them. It'd be like, oh, if you want like, you know, black whatever, like black character this or Hispanic, I don't know, so you find the version of it that exists that was that, and you use that, but we do not want you maybe to.
I don't know. I don't think they'd be that controlling.
Like, whatever.
Like it's just I think it's more of a whatever.
Yeah.
Like
I guess we'll see. Maybe not. I know from I guess without getting like too much in the weeds here, companies are like more defensive of their babies, and like then it looks like to fans.
Right.
So like I just wouldn't be surprised if there's like an internal document that's like, yeah, no, like you don't.
I mean, there's going to be things you can or can't do, but I mean, the comics are different from the MCU, and the way they treat the characters, what they do. Like comics. I think any Marvel comic fan knows the comics all got worse when the MCU came out because they started trying to turn the comic book characters into their MCU versions and forms, make them look like the characters, make them act like the characters. Okay. Everything got a little bit worse when that happened, and I don't know how much influence the MCU really has on comics. I think the more influence they have, then the less creative the Magic people get to be with these designs, but the less they have, I think the more creative they get to be. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, at any rate, cool. Get your Magic Marvel packs next year or whenever it is.
That's in 2024. That means that'll probably come out after the Fallout collab and after the Assassin's Creed collab.
Yeah, you can get your play booster because it'll be like the 5th one by then.
And, you know, Magic the Gathering is like the Fortnite of card games. I know I've said this before, but come on, man. They keep adding more. Like,
well, at any rate, I've got another story. So did you know that Netflix is doing gaming?
What do you mean?
Yeah, so Netflix is getting into video games. They've been actually trying to make a push into video games. You probably would not normally associate them with that. But the company first dabbled in games with interactive titles like Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, and a Carmen Sandiego game. But in 2021, it made gaming a much bigger priority. Hired a former EA exec in July to lead its gaming efforts, and in November, it actually let people play a selection of mobile games for free as part of their subscriptions. So basically, it sounds like they're going to be sort of messing around with different choose-your-own-adventure style games that you can play like on your Netflix app, I suppose, with your Netflix subscription. And also there will just be different mobile games. They, want you to kind of view Netflix not just as a way to watch shows or movies, but also a way to play games. And probably something else they can like lock behind a paywall and like keep you away from Steam or keep you away from Fortnite or whatever. Because like, when your Netflix subscription costs $30 a month, you can play everything. You just do everything on there. So they've made like 2 Stranger Things titles. There's like a few of these games. I don't really recognize what some of this stuff is, but Jinx is joining Fortnite ahead of the premiere of Arcane. That was something that happened like last year.
I would say that Ben happened.
Yeah, so there's I found this article because I thought it was kind of interesting. It's just like all the news about like Netflix's gaming stuff has just kind of been updated and updated and updated. Would you play like games on Netflix?
Oh.
You don't think it's really the place for you to do that?
Well, I have an entire PC and a PlayStation 5.
Well, maybe in theory you could play them on your like PS5. Like it would still be within the Netflix app, maybe.
Why would I bottleneck my gaming like that?
Well, it said they actually tested streaming games to US TVs. This was actually just last week. So, I mean, it's something. I don't really know. I thought it was interesting.
No, it is interesting. But I think what's more interesting is that Netflix is looking for other ways to compete with streaming services outside of just bringing in more original content or buying more IPs, which is how they traditionally compete with each other. I say traditionally, but the streaming wars have only been going on for a few years. But I think Netflix has realized that they need to find other ways to compete because just buying IPs and making original content is expensive and it's not necessarily like winning the battle.
Yeah, I mean, so it's supposed to be like cloud streaming, which, you know, like that's
I know Amazon is big into that.
I mean, like even like
Google,
Sony and Microsoft
too, right?
have like I think cloud gaming streaming like sort of systems. So I mean, you know, is it something that I would do? No, I don't think so. I'm also not a big gamer, but I guess their idea is maybe that it would influence your decision to buy like a Netflix subscription.
Because I mean, like the types of games that Netflix is offering, I don't know what they all are, but it sounds like very mobile gamey, and that sounds like more for like pacifying children.
Well, I'm going to read a little bit more. It says they did a limited beta test a couple of weeks ago with the initial launch in Canada and the UK. There were only 2 games available to stream: Oxenfree, don't know what that is, and another game titled Molyneux's Mining Adventure. So this might be like a kid's game sort of thing.
They definitely don't sound very like AAA.
If you have access to the service, you'll need to download Netflix's special controller app for your iPhone or Android device to play the game on your TV.
So you control it with your phone.
Yeah, Netflix says the streamed games work on select devices, including Amazon Fire TV devices, Chromecast with Google TV, Roku devices and TVs, and more. On the web, because you can also play it on the web, you'll be able to play the games with a mouse and keyboard. So, I mean... Oh, the company's even planning to release games based on its own hit franchises like Squid Game, Wednesday, Extraction, and Black Mirror. And it
those
had
sound like some dark games.
It had discussions with Take-Two Entertainment about licensing a game from the Grand Theft Auto series. So,
like, I mean, I haven't seen these games, so I can't really say much. I can't speak to their quality or anything.
Yeah, I would try it out if they offered me like, hey, join the beta, but I don't have Netflix. So.
I mean, I probably wouldn't try it. I'd have to see a AAA title before I even begin thinking about it.
Yeah, I guess they won't have that. I felt like it was going to be a thing that's probably like family and kids games. Because like if you think about maybe the Netflix experience, like if it's kind of the family entertainment like place, then the kids could play their Paw Patrol. Netflix like kind of endorsed
Netflix owns Paw Patrol?
Don't know. I just threw an example out. But like, you know, Paw Patrol or
I don't know. To be clear, I'm not a Paw Patrol fan. I had a younger brother and he watched a lot of Paw Patrol.
I mean like or if it's something like Black Mirror though, or like Squid Game, like basically you just finished binging the series and now like you play the Squid Game. And like the formula kind of works.
Man literally just said Squid Game.
Well, that's what it would be, the Squid Game, right? Like that's what
it's just funny.
So I don't know. It's probably not for me, but I thought it was interesting.
It doesn't sound. What's weird is the games that you are part of the beta. Those sound like kind of like kid friendly and kiddie. There's nothing that sounds kid like about a Squid Game or a Black Mirror game. Those.
Well, maybe it is. I mean, it's just. I guess maybe kiddie isn't the best word. I think I should say accessible. Like, it's not necessarily for, like, just a traditional gamer, but it's just, like, you watch these shows and they're interesting to you, so maybe you'd play a game about them.
Like, they could do those, like, Telltale-style games. I think those would work really well for Netflix's platform. Something you can kind of, like stay seated. Because you can click your option that you want to go by.
I heard them, they mentioned that they also have experimented with, like, choose your own adventure. kind of you're going through.
They're just visual
Walking
novels
Dead or
without the
something.
like fun parts.
Maybe they will have the fun parts, whatever those are.
Netflix can't offer those.
Or can it? Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I thought that was kind of neat. You got another story?
Let's see. Oh, this was a random Yu-Gi-Oh thing I found.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's actually a new Blue Eyes Toon Dragon glow-in-the-dark Funko Pop.
I'll buy it.
It's at Hot Topic.
Never mind. No, I'd like to get that glow-in-the-dark Blue Eyes Funko Pop.
I honestly forgot about it. I should have mentioned it forever ago.
Yeah, no, I'll grab that. I've got a story. Nintendo is implementing restrictive new rules for fan tournaments. Now, this has been a really, really big story, actually.
Fan tournaments?
Yeah, so fans who play tournaments of any Nintendo game now have to abide by a set of rules and regulations.
So they're regulating all Nintendo
all
games.
Tournaments, any Nintendo, Splatoon, Smash Bros, Mario Kart, whatever else you'd play a tournament of. So, here's the scoop. Nintendo is implementing restrictive new rules for fan tournaments. The company has released a set of strict guidelines for small-scale tournaments involving its games. They're defining the new guidelines as community tournaments. The guidelines set strict rules around the number of competitors allowed, limit how much events can charge for entry, and set detailed restrictions on how in-person events can be run. So these apply to the EU, North America, and Japan. The rules specify that a community tournament may only include up to 200 participants, or 300 if the tournament is held online. Tournament organizers are not allowed to charge players more than $20 for participation in an event, and any money raised can only be used towards event costs and prizes. Spectator tickets can't be priced above $15 and can only be used to raise money for event costs, but not for prize money. There's also a cap on prize money. Individual prizes are limited to $5,000 each, with a total cap of $10,000 per organizer in a 12-month period. The lengthy post also includes a list of guidelines for participants and spectators at community tournaments to be aware of, and an extensive FAQ that contains a few other stipulations Nintendo has for small-scale tournaments. For example, events are prohibited from selling food, beverages, or merchandise if they want to come under the community tournament guidelines, and also cannot pay fees or expenses to any participating players.
So people are supposed to starve?
Maybe. So yeah, that's the new rules. That if you want to run a Smash Bros tournament in your basement or whatever, I guess you got to follow the rules, or else Nintendo's going to come and take away your TV and your Switch and then kill you.
But don't they offer much more for Pokemon TCG prizing?
Yeah, but that's the Pokemon company. This is Nintendo.
But they're
different.
under.
I'm not even going to get into that. That's a different. The Pokemon companies like Game Freak and Nintendo and.
So Nintendo is involved.
Yeah, they're involved. But this is for like people who want to run like Nintendo games, which I do wonder if that includes like if a fan wants to just run like a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet thing. Does that count?
Well, wait, yeah, because VGC is with the.
Well, they get different rules. Got it. The point is, this is mostly affecting Smash Bros tournaments. Is kind of because that's the game that really gets the most regular, tournaments and stuff.
Smash tournaments are big,
and so yeah, I mean, it's what you heard.
But it only affects Smash tournaments in North America, Europe, and Japan, right?
Yeah.
So South America's good
for now.
So we should just move all the tournaments down there.
I mean, what do you think of the guideline? Like the guidelines, like 200 participants, 300 at the tournaments held online.
It's weird. Almost every other guideline felt fine. It was the ones in between were just like, well, this feels
like which ones?
So I commented on the whole like you can't sell food and beverages.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
It's like so.
I understand saying like you can't sell merch. Maybe like I guess they don't want people. Actually, I don't understand it. I'm gonna be honest. But
merch.
I guess like maybe they just like it might be merch that is not associated with like Nintendo or not aligned with its values.
Capping how much the organizers can make, like in profit.
Well,
that's weird to me, because
yeah.
The people who put on like FGC like tournaments, yeah, a lot of them are spurred by their love of the game, but the only way to get them to make these tournaments as big and as impressive as they can is profit. And if you put a hard limit on how much they can make, then they will put a hard limit on how much they'll invest.
Well, I mean, Nintendo doesn't care.
But why do they care at all?
I think they care about how their game is presented, which is...
as like one of the hottest FGC communities in the world?
Yeah, but I guess it doesn't like benefit Nintendo when that happens, or at least that's how they maybe see it. It's like Smash Bros. Sells like a gajillion copies, and they don't really like all the people who are playing at those tournaments have already like they own a copy of Smash Bros. So I guess like for them it's not any free, like there's no benefit. So maybe they're just trying to make sure that it's like micromanaged to where like everything's like Nintendo family friendly and like very brand aligned and like doesn't seem maybe too gambly. Like maybe there's like some gambling laws they're trying to.
I mean, now there is that because I've always thought that the FGC community and their tournaments, you know, players they put in their entry fees and some of that goes into the pot and that's a bit like gambling. But because of like sports betting in the United States, how that's popped off, I figured, at least in the States it shouldn't be a problem. Like. We bet on everything out here.
I mean, there's like a certain amount of money where like if X amount is if a person makes more than X amount, then like that means that it's suddenly gambling. I'm not like really sure.
They could, and I know Europe is very very restrictive about such things, and so that could be reason enough for Nintendo to tighten up on things. But I mean, I feel like the FGC community has done so much positive work for Nintendo as far as Smash goes, because it's not just a matter of, everyone already bought their copy of the game and it's done. What's done is done. I mean, they're consistently marketing the game over and over and over again. They're bringing in new players. They're keeping... I know it like the Melee community probably doesn't help all that much. They can't really move new copies of Melee. But through very large Melee tournaments, people might say, well...
there's more interest in Smash in
general. I want to go buy Smash Ultimate now. And
yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. I figured Nintendo wouldn't have such... like, I wonder why they want to micromanage it as hard as they do. Like, just this very tight, like, can be no more than 200 people. Like, why? Like where did they come to that number? Like, why is there like if it's strange, like, I guess if a million people wanted to play in a Smash Bros. Tournament, like, why can't they do it? Like, I get, like, logistically, like, that's on whoever's organizing the tournament, but I mean, it's like, if 203 people want to play, why can't they all play?
Do you think maybe they're planning on launching their own tournament series?
Laughable if so. I feel like they've tried to do, like, kind of, that I've seen, like, these Nintendo-run tournaments, and they're always just... weird, kind of weird rule sets, usually online with Smash Bros. Is
like
not great.
I feel like because if they were to have their own circuit, their own e-sport, then you would have to put like the clamps down on all these other tournaments because theirs would struggle to grow.
Yeah. Now you can, if you want to organize a larger tournament, you have to apply for a license from Nintendo. So, and only organizations can do that. Like individuals can't. So you have to like be, I guess, a company, a group, an LLC. I don't know.
And then so you have to go on paper because see these guidelines are funny. You have to abide by these guidelines, but I mean, if Nintendo doesn't know, like if they don't find out about your tournament, you don't have to abide by anything. But if you get a license and you sign a piece of paper, a contract,
then they can kind of
now like they have that grip on your community.
The main thing is that at any given tournament, I guess like Nintendo could find out if like a regional tournament has more than 200 people because it's like streamed on Twitch. So Nintendo's like ninjas that are just hired to sit in front of computers and watch for Smash Bros. Twitch streams, which probably maybe exists as a job. I don't know. They could like find it and I guess deduce it. But I do feel like who's really enforcing all this? Like, are you gonna enforce like my locals? You know what I mean? Like who's who's gonna know?
On the bright side, it shouldn't be a 200 plus person locals running around.
Yeah, but there might be locals where they charge $21 for entry, and like, does Nintendo like immediately come, bang on the front door and take all our Switches away and like unplug TVs?
No other company does this with fighting games, right?
Well, I've heard that some other companies have not like one-to-one things like this, but definitely like they'll kind of restrict how advertising for tournaments that features their games can work and things like that. I know like different companies kind of have their bit that they might have to like tell, like Evo, for instance, you can't run these sorts of ads against like the Street Fighter section of the tournament. There's all kinds of like little specifics that come up.
That's an interesting question. How does this affect Evo?
Well, Evo doesn't have Smash anymore anyway, so.
I thought they had it last year.
No.
No?
They haven't had it for a couple years now.
Well, maybe this is why.
So, yeah, I mean, I know Nintendo's got a reputation for being pretty rough to work with. I know like we, harp on Konami a lot, but Nintendo, they shut down fan projects, and they're really big on that. They're very anti-piracy, which like is within their right to be, but it's just they don't have a great like rep among fans, and it can sometimes feel like you can almost be punished for being a fan of Nintendo.
So as a former Smash Brothers tournament organizer that you were.
Yeah, I've organized some Smash Bros. Tournaments.
Because now you don't do it anymore, but if you were still, yes, how would these have affected you?
So for some background, I would organize Smash Bros. Tournaments back when I was in college, and it was just like stuff on campus. None of these actual policies would have really affected us because we did free tournaments and we never had 200 people, and we didn't sell food and drinks. So I mean, like
we really didn't, did we?
Yeah. So I mean, like we gave away like free like water and.
What about pricing, Paul? What about pricing?
Well, the pricing was always just like stuff. Like it would just be like you get a.
Was it over $10,000?
Like an NES Classic or something, or whatever it was that we were giving away. So, yeah. So I mean, I guess like for like small kind of local things, I don't see this being issues. I think it's probably more of an issue for like a regional tournament that might actually kind of break the 200-person thing, or might want to charge more than $20 for participation.
I guess there are some like big weeklies that happen. I wonder if they might run afoul.
Yeah, how that.
What's that one channel that I always see upload every single Smash set?
Like
VGC Boot Camp.
Yeah, they upload everything. Like locals. They have like Smash at Xanadu is what it's called. I don't know. I'm very curious. I mean, I know that the fallout of this in the Smash community has been like a lot of doom and gloom. It might not actually be that bad. It might just be that it doesn't really affect very much, and it just things kind of go as they have.
Well, if it does affect pricing,
But if it affects pricing, I think that'll certainly change things. Smash has had a lot of like back and forth with Nintendo, like the Smash community and just Nintendo trying to kind of shut tournaments down or stop like hacking attempts sort of stuff, like even limiting what music can maybe be played on streams.
Has any like very prominent members of the VGC community like spoken out about this?
VGC community, like Pokemon VGC?
Yeah, not Pokemon. I said VGC, FGC. My bad.
Yeah, everybody on Twitter's talking about it.
Because like I feel typically things like this, like for us normal people, this was a blindside, a shock. We didn't see this coming. But I feel like large tournament organizers have been in contact with Nintendo beforehand and kind of had a feeling this was coming.
They probably knew because like large tournaments have gotten a license, I guess already would be because I think these community guidelines are like effective immediately. But I know that there are large Smash Bros tournaments like Genesis, for instance, it's like next year that are still continuing. So my understanding is that they must just have a license, and so
they're just rocking with it.
So I guess they're gonna rock with it. It's gonna be okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't like really, compete in Smash much myself, so I don't think that this is really something that'll affect me. But for those of you who do, I hope that Nintendo maybe can. Hopefully, this is not as bad as it sounds like it is. That's all I can really say. So, any other stories?
No, that's all I had.
That's all you got?
Which I guess I technically only had one, but I tried.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, I guess it's time to answer some questions from the Pot of Greed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you refilled the questions? I don't know if you have. There might be a few left in here from last week. Yeah. Alec is the one who's normally in charge of this, so if there aren't
that was never directly stated.
If there aren't questions, then you guys know.
Okay. There are. I feel cards.
Cool.
Okay. I got one. Hopefully, this is a new card, and we just didn't put the old cards back in.
No, I try not to do that. Oh gosh, sorry. Hope we aren't hitting the mics too much. Oh, you look worried.
No. I mean, it's a funny question. So, are there still mid-range decks in Yu-Gi-Oh? So, I guess the assumption here is that for this person, there are only combo decks and
I guess like stun
and like stun decks, control decks. You want to call that. Saying that there isn't mid-range.
Do you think there's mid-range?
I would say 100% there's definitely mid-range in Yu-Gi-Oh! Without a doubt.
Like, what are some examples?
Cash Tira.
Okay.
Cash Tira, Rescue Ace. Feels weird to say, but like Pirelli to an extent. What's more of an aggro style?
I mean, I think that I will say I think that mid range definitely still exists. I mean, if anything, that's kind of what the Diabell Star thing is. It's just sort of a bit of a mid range deck. Like the Snake Eye Diabell Star deck is much more about like just a resource loop and kind of going back and forth with your opponent. It's very interaction heavy. Some would argue that actually TR Elements was a mid range deck. It's hard to believe because it was such a strong one, kind of overwhelmingly so.
I could never define what TR Elements was.
Yeah, I think it's. I know there's.
I said was. It's still around.
Yeah, it still gets played. I mean, I know that there was actually a conversation on like kind of Yugi Twitter, not super duper long ago about like what defines mid range and aggro and control in Yu-Gi-Oh versus other games like Magic, because the definitions kind of vary some from game to game. I mean, I think like mid-range in Yu-Gi-Oh looks a lot different today because mid-range in Yu-Gi-Oh still tends to be on the more aggressive end. Like you still are oftentimes able to finish games out like fast. So you're not
because you have to.
Yeah, because you have to. That's kind of what modern Yu-Gi-Oh demands. You win when you get the chance. You strike while the iron's hot. So sometimes a mid-range deck can mid-range you for several turns and kind of play a bit of a grind, or it can like win usually in like one or two. So that can make it a little bit tricky, but I definitely think it still exists. I would say Rescue Ace. That's obviously the deck I've been playing. It's very much what I would call mid-range, but I think there's a lot of them. There's a lot of decks that just play interactions.
Eldritch is a great mid-range deck.
Yeah, well, some people would say like Eldritch leans closer to control, but I actually think that Eldritch early on was closer to a mid-range thing. When it was playing more of the one-for-one traps, the Dogmatica punishments, and those sorts of things, as opposed to maybe just like floodgates, that it plays more like a mid-range deck in those cases.
Because, I mean, it wasn't... Because Eldritch wasn't trying to lock you out the game and win like that. It was actually trying to... It was forcing you to out its boards, and then it was recurred everything turn after turn. So... Yeah,
so it was definitely... I would say mid-range. So I think mid-range does still exist. I think that, like... Even maybe if you want some relevant examples beyond Diabell Star, I mean, I think that even like the Unchained deck, like that's been really popping off recently. That's definitely like a mid-range one, I would say. So
any deck where I don't have to learn a 15-step combo or run a bunch of floodgates, I call mid-range.
All right, so this question is tips for making a trade binder.
Take it away, Paul.
Question. Well, I don't really know that I have like great tips. I don't know that people even trade anymore.
Don't make me get your trade binder. Oh, wait, you don't have a trade binder.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, like, do people really trade in Yu-Gi-Oh much these days? I didn't know if they did.
Yo, but if you do trade, I'm going to trade a lot of bulk cards for like Diabell Star and Horus cards. Just let me know if you trade because we got bulk. Yeah, we got bulk.
Yeah, I would say, I guess playsets look better than... Playsets are good. Go for playsets. Playsets make for a nicer looking trade binder. That's like one of the tips I always kind of remember.
But wouldn't you have to trade to get the playsets?
Yeah, like aim for playsets as you're trading. So like if you're like random 1-offs, 2-offs, 1-offs, 2-offs, it kind of makes your binder look sloppy. This is going from a strictly aesthetic angle.
Yeah, it's like a presentation
thing. Like presentational, not really, As for like just making a trade binder, I mean...
Well,
trading tips, I don't know.
You gave me an idea just now.
Okay.
Because this was more functional than presentational. You want to have a good mix of higher value cards and lower value cards. Because I don't trade in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I've traded in other card games. And if you have a binder filled with only like Starlight rares and other like
Unattainable
100 plus like rarity cards, you will struggle to find someone to trade with. It's like you might see someone that they have a card you want. You show them your binder, and they're like, I can't trade for any of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I would say, just put what you intend to trade in there. Like I know like sometimes people will put these starlights. It's like it's not for trade. Okay, then just don't put it in the trade binder. Like, and that can go for like small stuff too. Like just the things in your trade binder should be things that are for trade.
That's
ideally.
True. And in Digimon, I have multiple binders. I have a flex binder where I just put all the cards I collect, all my shiny cards, all my rare cards, all my alternate arts. It's in that binder, and that binder for the most part is not for trade. Nothing in there is tradable. But then I have two other binders filled with cards. I don't care if I trade them. I have one binder of cards I give away. I'm just like, yo, do you want these? You want this page? Wow. You want all these? Here, take the binder.
Yeah. So, I hope that was helpful. I know I guess it's like a difficult question because today it does feel like trading is so out of vogue. But
the modern question would have been, how do I organize my TCG player?
Cart. How do I organize my cart? Alphabetically. No, yeah, it feels like more times than not, people just buy the things that they need these days. So it's kind of unfortunate. I miss trading. I think trade binders were a cool part of Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't see them much anymore.
Yeah, okay. So I thought we didn't have any more left.
We didn't.
Okay, here you go.
Y'all know who to blame.
Paul. It's Paul's fault. Oh, okay. This is easy.
Is it? What's your question?
So, what are you building from Age of Overlord?
Oh, okay, well that's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mentioned before I want to build Snake Eyes. It's a new lore archetype. I find that the first lore archetype for series tend to be the better supported ones. I feel. Albaz had like Dogmatica, and I feel like Snake Eyes have a lot of room to grow from what they do, and I'm building Horus because I played Horus in Rare Hunters, and I really like the Black Flame Dragon, and we've seen what they're gonna get in Phantom Nightmare, and so I'm excited for that. So despite the prices, I'm gonna push through on those, but also I got Baphomet, so I'm adding that to Chimera.
Yeah. Oh, you're also doing something with the Zark cards.
Yeah, I'm putting together a Zark deck. I keep putting Pendulum decks together. I had Performer Pals, I had Odd Eyes, I had Draco Slayer, and then I just never play them because I can't stand reading the cards. But I'm doing it again. I'm putting together a Zark deck, and maybe I'll play this one.
Well, yeah, I'm not actually building anything new in Age of Overlord. I'm just adding in the Labyrinth card into my Labyrinth deck and adding in the Vanquish Soul cards. There's two of them into my Vanquish Soul deck.
Wait, there's two?
Yeah, there's a trap and there's a monster.
Oh, that's right.
So that's pretty much just getting added into my deck. But other than that, I'm not really. Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm like building anything new. I thought that like maybe the Horus deck could be fun, but I don't think it might not be for me.
You trade me your Diabell Star, and I'll trade you my Horus cards.
Yeah, that'll be a trade. We can make that happen. I recently pulled a Diabell Star, so. But yeah, well, my question, I guess the last question of the podcast, suggest a current archetype for a returning player.
Oh,
this is a person from 2005. So something current.
Oh, 5? That's GX era.
More like kind of goating back. Like GX like started in like late 2005, but
yeah, I was playing Ancient Gears.
So what would we recommend?
Does it have to be modern? Like current?
Yeah, like they want like a modern deck, like a current archetype for a person who's returning and they used to play in 2005. So my understanding would be that they want something that's probably simple, or like, that sounds rude to say. They want something that maybe evokes that time period. I think if you want to evoke that time period like aesthetically, well, Invasion of Chaos might be like kind of something that speaks to you like as a thing. So if you wanted a modern version of that, there are like Chaos cards now, like Chaos, the Chaos Creator, like that whole like Chaos Space, Chaos Zone, those cards. You could maybe play something like that if it's an aesthetic that you're after, or there's like anime decks, like kind of character themed decks that have since gotten a lot of support. Like if you want like there's Harpies, Blue Eyes and Dark.
They don't want a good deck.
Well, they haven't. I mean, it's not a super specific question. So, if you want something good, well, you play the same thing everyone else is playing right now.
That is true. I just felt, I don't know, because if someone's getting back into the game, they actually want to get into it. I don't know if suggesting an already like heavily power crept deck is the answer.
What do you mean, like?
Because a lot of our legacy decks, like supported decks, they're just not. They're not really doing it. Up. They're not. They're modern in name only at this point, and we're moving into a new format. And so I was trying to think of what's something from the last couple formats that felt like it was.
Yeah, it would be good for somebody. It's accessible.
See, a year and a half ago, I might have said Sword Soul.
Yeah. I would say that if you want something that kind of feels intuitive to play, anything from deck builder sets tends to be pretty good. So, what was the one that was early?
Oh, they can play Eldritch.
Yeah, well, I was going to say if you want something from just the last couple of sets, like Vanquish Soul is a really good one. I think it's fun because it sort of feels like an older school deck because you're only really summoning like kind of one or two monsters to the field at a time.
Because, yeah, they work with what you have in hand, right?
Yeah, they kind of reveal cards and do different things. And like I obviously am a Rescue Ace fan, so I would suggest them. But there's those that would be probably where I would look.
There.
Stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully that helps. There's just so many Yu-Gi-Oh decks now. It's really quite hard.
They probably will like some of those recent structure decks we've gotten too.
Trap Trick Structure is super easy to play.
Trap Trick is easy to play. We did get 2005. If you were a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh GX, I mean. We did get the
like a Crystal Beast last year, a Dark World structure.
Dark World, there are options.
And those tend to still be on shelves. Like they stick around. So give those a crack. See what you think about them.
They are modern. They're just you're not gonna win a YCS.
So anyways, that's I think that's it for the podcast.
Yeah, guys.
The Pod of Greed.
Thanks for watching the Pod of Greed.
As always, we really appreciate all of your support. If you guys had any thoughts about any of the topics that we discussed this week, definitely feel free to leave them down in the comments. As you guys know, we do read those comments and try to answer and respond. So, I'd like to hear about it, especially because there are some topics here like, the price thing or the Marvel Magic thing or like there's a few others where it could be a little divisive. Like where you fall in these, I don't know that there's like right and wrong answers all the time. So
the right answer is whatever you put in the comments.
Yeah. I think everybody on YouTube believes that. So anyway, thank you guys for watching and or listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Pass turn.